Hi everybody, Brittany Davenport coming to you from Lewiston, Idaho. Today we're going to be tying a fly pattern called a green butt skunk. This is a pattern a lot of folks use here in our local rivers for steelhead, which our local rivers include the Clearwater and the Snake River, also the Grand Ronde and salmon. So we're going to start by using a Daiichi 2421, and I'm using a size 4 today, though this pattern can be tied all the way down to a size 10. If you talk to Poppy at the Red Shed, a size 10 greenbutt skunk is about all you need to fish the Clearwater River. So we're going to start by pinching the barb on our hook. Our rivers here, you have to fish barbless for steelhead, so we'll start by doing that. We're going to position our hook in our vise. You want the shank of that hook to be coming just above the top of the jaws, which will allow it to spin as close to center as we can get it. For thread today, I'm using Semperfli Classic Waxed A-Dot in black. I'm going to start the fly by just dressing our hook shank. And just get a nice thread base down. Now for the tail, we're going to be using red saddle hackle fibers. So I've just taken one. These were on the hide, but you can also use strung saddle hackle. That's fine as well. Just gonna strip that fluff off so we can get it out of our way. And then I'm just gonna take just a pinch of those fibers, and then I'm going to pull the stem away from them, and that will help keep those tips aligned. So we're going to tie this in for the tail. Let's go ahead and take a couple wraps. I like to go behind and underneath, over, and then behind and underneath one more time. It just really locks those fibers in. It also gives it a little bit of a cock up, if you might say. Just like the looks of it. You can go in and trim these extras out, and then just wrap those buttons down. Next up, the green butt aspect of the fly, we're going to be using some chartreuse chenille. So I'm just using Nature Spirit medium in fluorescent chartreuse. So I'm going to use this just right off the card, that way we don't have any waste. I will take the very tip of it and strip those fibers off to expose that core, and that's what we'll be tying in. That allows us to tie it in without having that big bump right at the tie-in point. So I'm going to lash that down and come forward. We're only going to take a few wraps of this, as it is just the butt of the fly. So go ahead and put a half hitch in, take our thread, move it over to our post. And now I'm taking this right off the card. So that's one of the big benefits to Norvise, is you can just tie right off the card with a lot of materials, and so you have a lot less waste. So we've got a few wraps of that just for the butt purpose of the fly. And take a few securing wraps, a couple behind, a couple in front, behind. We can go ahead and then just trim that out. And so we've had absolutely zero waste on that. Doesn't seem like a lot, but from what I've seen now that we're doing a little bit of production tying, little bits add up rather fast. So, you know, they little bits here and there do add up. Next, we're going to be tying our ribbon, which I am just using Semperfli French oval tinsel in medium silver. So I'm going to tie that in to the near side of the hook. I like to have it closer to the bottom side, and then we'll just lash that butt section down. And then you can just take that extra and just slide it in your jaws, and it'll hold it out of the way for you a little bit. Our body material is going to be Nature Spirit chenille in medium, only this time we're using black. And again, we're just tying that in just right off the card. We'll go ahead again and just strip out some fibers. That way we're just lashing down that core material. It really makes it so you have less of a buildup of materials underneath your body. I'm going to advance my thread and then just throw a half hitch in and take our bobbin over to our thread post. And then we're just going to take touching wraps all the way up the body. If we can keep our tinsel out of the way. All the way up the body of that fly. Again, I should have brought my hair clip over here with me. It's on my bench across the room. So about that. Now we're going to go in. Keep in mind we still have a wing to add, so don't get too close to the head. We've got hackle and wings still. Go ahead and trim that out. Give it another lash or two down. Throw a half hitch in. And then we're going to take our rib material, pull it out from between those jaws. And for this, we're just going to do some wide ribs. We only need 4 to 5. And then go ahead and tie that off. Just trim that nice and close. I like to give it another lash or two down and just tidy that up a bit. Alright, so now we are up to the collar, which is going to be just strung saddle hackle in black. So we've got one of those out now. We're going to go ahead and strip all the fuzz off the bottom of it. And I like to make a nice little tie-in point at the back end. Just leaving a little bit of a triangle with some barbs on it. That way the thread has something to grip onto a little bit. Just gives it a good tie-in point. Now you want the curve, the outward curve of the feather to be towards you as we tie this in. So we're going to go ahead and lash that down. I'm going to put a half hitch in just to save our work. Bring our thread over. So now we want to preen those fibers to the rear because we want those to go towards the rear of the hook. So do that the best we can. They're not all going to cooperate, but just try to get the gist of it. And then here you can use hackle pliers, or if the feather's long enough, you don't have to. You certainly can if you like, or if you're more comfortable doing it that way. I'll take a few wraps of that. And tie that material down. Go in and trim that tip section out. Now you can see we've got some kind of going every which way. So I'll just preen those to the rear and take a wrap or two over them just to secure them going the direction we'd like. And for the wing, we're using white calf tail. So I'm going to snip a bit of this off. Make sure this is a larger hook, so I need to make sure I grab it from a point where the hair is long enough. If you're using a smaller hook, that won't be quite as big of a deal. But this is a bigger hook, so I want to make sure the hair is long enough. So I've taken a snip from that. Always take a little bit more than you think you'll need, because you'll really trim it down as you clear out all the short hairs, the underfur. And these wings are really more sparse than one might think they are. So I've gone through and cleaned out as much of the underfur and shorter fibers as I can. You don't have to stack this. You can if you want. If you've sprayed your calf tails out with static guard and brushed them out, that makes it a little bit easier, and it will actually stack a little bit if you want to even those tips up. Again, you don't have to. That's entirely tire preference. So now you want your wing to extend to the back of the hook shank. So go ahead and take a measurement, switch hands, and then you're going to cut those fibers off. Now we're going to take a couple soft wraps to kind of get that where we want, make sure it's the length we want, and then proceed to take tighter wraps. Once you have a couple tight wraps on, I like to lift the wing up and go behind it, and then proceed to wrap it down. That just really secures that wing in and gives it a good bite. So at this point, you can go ahead and we'll throw a whip finish in there. Do a couple. Entirely your preference on how many you want to do and whatnot. Go ahead and cut our thread off. And then for lacquer, I've started using the Solarized Bone Dry, which this is just the clear, but I noticed the other day that they do now have a black version of it out there. So I'm hoping to get that shortly, because I think that would work extremely well for steelhead flies, where we want that nice shiny black head. We'll just go ahead and hit that with our UV light. Let that set. And there you have it, a green butt skunk. Thanks for tuning in.